Okay, there's no real, I don't have a real title across the top here. If you're going to put a title on it. That would be the title you would give it. Factor by grouping. Okay? So whenever you factor by grouping, most commonly it's going to be when you're given a polynomial that has 4 terms. Okay? Sometimes it could be 6 terms, sometimes it could be 8 terms. The most you guys would see would be 6, and I don't know if you're going to see that. Okay? But most commonly it's whenever you have 4 terms. Alright? Now, if you're going to do things, factor things by grouping, chances are we're going to split things into groups. Fascinating. I know, mathematicians, we ain't real creative. We just point out the obvious. So we're going to put these into groups, and we're going to group them like that. First group, second group. Okay? And the way this works is this, Sharon. What's up?
Do you want us to write the definition?
You don't have to. No.
Okay.
No. Now, what you do is you look at your first 2 terms. 20x cubed minus 25x squared. And you factor the GCF, the greatest common factor, out of each one. So the biggest number that divides 20 and 25 would be what? 5. Okay? 5. You have 3 x's in the first term, 2 x's in the second. What's the most you can take? 2. Right? You have 3 in the first, 2 in the second. You can take 2 out from each. Okay? Whenever you do a factoring by a GCF, you're always setting it up so that you could distribute that GCF back in, right? And that you would get the same thing. So you need to fill in this binomial, the set of parentheses, so that if you distribute 5x squared back in, it would go to 20x cubed minus 25x squared.
So you put that into the circle? I mean, in the parentheses, or you don't?
Well, you got to figure out this part yet, right? So 5x. So what times 5x squared is going to give you 20x cubed? 4x. 4x. Minus, and then what times 5x squared will give you 25x squared? 5. And that's how you figure that part out. Okay, everybody see that? That's step 1. Any questions? Always just take the GCF. Step 2, and this is where this gets a little, I don't want to say tricky, but you gotta be paying attention here, okay? So let's see, I'm gonna give it nice cute colors. Okay, now, I underlined 2 things in green, I underlined 2 things in red. The green we'll get to. The red is 2 binomials. In order for this to work, the 2 binomials you make up have to be the same. Okay? So since our first one was 4x minus 5, that automatically means our second one has to be 4x minus 5. Okay? Now, you look to finish this off, you look at your second group right here, this 4x minus 5. And here, listen to me carefully. You have to factor something out of 4x minus 5 to give you this binomial. Okay? You have to. You have to factor something out of it. So you need to factor out a number that when you multiply it by 4x minus 5, it gives you 4x minus 5. Number is 1. And it's a positive one, right? So you put a plus there. That's your first line of work. There's 2 lines of work to this. Any questions on the first one? Does that make sense? GCF out of the first two terms, whatever it takes out of the second group to make it be the same binomials. Typically, it will also be the GCF. Okay? Typically, the way this goes is you do the GCF out of the first two, GCF out of the second two, and the problem's set up that these binomials will work out to be the same. Okay? So far, so good. All right. Now, I know I got a lot underlined, but I'm going to underline a little bit more. Ready? I'm going to go from here to here. And I'm going to go from here to there with the white. Okay. The blue that I underlined is one term. The white I underlined is one term. What do those two terms have in common? The blue underlined section and the white underlined section. What do they have in common? What's in them? They both have 4x minus 5. See that? That's the key. That's the trick. That's how this works. So, you take those two and you write them as 1. Because what you essentially do is you factor out that GCF, right? The GCF between the blue and the white is the 4x minus 5s. That's what they have in common, right? That leaves you with what's underlined in green. And that's your answer.
Those are not the same.
That's okay. These don't have to be the same.
I'm saying 4x minus 5. Will they always be the same?
Oh. Yeah, these two?
Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise it doesn't work. So these two, the two in red, will always have to be the same. Now what you factor out of there can be different. What you end up with there can be different. But these binomials themselves will always be the same. That's how it works. Cody.
How do you figure out the one again?
You look at this binomial. You see that it's 4x minus 5. You already know that this binomial has to be 4x minus 5. And you do the same thing to this group that you did to this group. You factor out the GCF. GCF between 4x and 5 is 1.
So you subtract.
Hmm?
You subtract that.
Now you divide.
Oh, you,
Same thing. Group it in two. All right. Now, and it didn't matter on the first one, but pay attention where I draw my line. All right. I draw it right in between the second term and the second sign. See that? That's very important. Okay. That's actually very important. So same process. You look at the first two terms. You have x cubed minus 3x squared. So you can't take a number out, or you can take a 1 out because you have 1 and negative 3, but you can definitely take out a what? Left.
Oh, you take out
X to the second power, good. Okay. And when we take out that x to the second power, what does that leave you with?
x minus
Good. Okay. Makes sense? Everybody see that? Alright. Now, here's where this one can get just a little trickier. And I recommend doing this, okay? Once you figure that part out, write that next line where you're going to factor something out of and put that binomial. Because now you know what that binomial has to be. Okay? So, you have to turn this binomial, which is negative 5x plus 15, into x minus 3 by factoring something out. Okay? Book them. Negative 5. Very good. Very good. Okay? Everybody see why negative? Since your sign changes from here to here. Okay. Always do that on the second group also. Okay. Don't try to get cute and factor the negative out of the first group and do this is negative first and positive and then negative and positive over here. If my finger will catch up, there it is. Always do your negative out of your second group. Okay? Always take the GCF out of the first group. GCF out of first group, negative if need be after second group. Make it a -5 to make these binomials match up. Okay? Questions on that one? Make sure your binomials are the same, and then write that once. And then write what's outside together. That's it. 5xy plus 20x cubed plus y squared plus 4yx squared. First two, 5xy, 20x cubed. GCF, what is it?
4. I mean, it's 5.
5,
5.
just 5x. Okay? Because there's no y in the second term, see that? You have x here, 3x is here, so the most you can take away is 1. Okay? So you took away a 5x from 5xy, what does that leave you with? 1y. You took a 5x away from 20x cubed, what's that leave you with? 4x squared. Alright. Now, that's what you need in the second binomial. Y plus 4x squared. You have y squared plus 4yx squared. What's common? What do you need to take out? 1 what?
1 square.
No.
Y.
1y. Just take a y out. Because distribute it back through, right? Y times y is y squared. Y times 4x squared is 4yx squared. Binomials match. Yay! So we'll write them as 1. And then put your two terms that are in the front together like that.